And waiting for it. Waiting for it. No, I'm probably being recorded. I am being recorded now. And we're live. Hey guys, it's the Tantrum Teverz show. We should just change it to Tantrum Teverz Butcher and Blue show, but
No.
And we do have our guest, the Butcher here, and the wonderful and beautiful Blue, of course. You guys want to say hi?
Feeling good.
Hi.
And today's show, we've got at least one good topic. I guarantee you that we're going to end up on about 12 million other ones. But I wanted to bring these two especially on because I really wanted to talk about the NaN Team, their history, what they've done, how long they've been. I know a ton of it, but you guys don't all know that. And I love these guys for what they've done. So I want you guys out there, and so does Tantrum, to get to you guys know who these guys are.
I don't know if you want to know about who we all are.
You say that's arguable.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there is a few people that may not like me or us, or which is just me. I can't. I can speak for myself, and I can speak for what I've seen and been part of. But I'm definitely not the cog in the. I'm just one cog in the wheel, a small cog.
Only the slow-mo types won't like you.
Yeah.
No names.
I said types.
Let me ask you this though, there, Butch. How's your ex-wife feel about you?
How's my what?
Your ex-wife. How does she feel about you?
I don't know. I try not to talk a lot.
Well, then there's two out
Best
there.
if I don't talk to her a lot.
Yeah.
If I don't talk to her a lot, everything's good. It's when we talk too much.
I'm
Sorry. I'm still getting some lag issue on mine. I'm having some internet issues, so bear with me for the people that are watching. I'm hearing like clips because they're having some internet issues around here. So if I drop out of the show, it's not because I got pissed off at one of these guys. It was that my internet must have said, "Hey, take a crap on that." So we'll do my best to hang in here and listen because it gets broken up. Sometimes I'm hearing in bits and pieces, but that's my fault.
Okay. Well, why don't you
Or
start?
my ISP.
So why don't you or Blue start the whole ball of bat and give us a bit of history about the NaN Team?
You go ahead, Todd. Todd's been here longer than I have.
He loves to talk.
I can give you, well, no, I can give you history that I know about because actually NaN was, well, Total XBMC was around, Total Revolution was, or Total XBMC was around before me. So I've been in it for 3 years now, I guess, something like that. Cody 14 or Cody 15. I can't remember which one it was when I joined in, but I think it was 14. And it was a splinter group, and again, don't take this as gospel because some of this was before me, but there was a group that was the TVA, old TVA people, X-Unity, and Total XBMC were all part of one community. And I don't know, I can't remember what it was called back then, but there was some issues and it fragmented. X-Unity went one direction, TVA went one direction, and Total XBMC went another direction. And I don't know what the reasons were or whatever, but they created, so Total XBMC became about, Wolfie Lee created the community portal and created the community portal tool to where that you could share builds, and it really focused a lot on builds on the early part that I saw, encouraging people to create builds, upload builds, share it with anybody. And he also had integrated into community portal a way to install add-ons. You could he scraped repos that were added in, and what it would do is if you looked for an add-on and say it was a new add-on that was released on a repo, it would install the repo, the proper repo, and then it would install the add-on via that repo. So he wasn't a super repo where all of the zip files and stuff were on one. He actually pointed you to the correct repo so that you got the correct repo number one and then the correct add-on. In those days, I was green as hell. I remember I didn't know how to change my tags for my backgrounds to special. So when I would release when I released a build, it was, you know, C:// user, you know, in my name. So
You mean daddy?
Well, it did. Well, it does say daddy. Yeah, it does say daddy on my computer. But so, that was the fun days. And I remember Silent Rom was in there. I remember when Chris B joined. I remember ARB, of course. I remember Gandalf was in there. Lots of builders were in there, and we were all just trying to build, trying to create builds, and and we were sharing ideas. And I'll have to say, Wolf C. Lee was, and I probably pronounce his name wrong, but that's just how it spells to me. He was the developer behind that, and he was all about, this is open source. And we can't tell somebody else what to do. We may not agree with what somebody else is doing, but we can't tell somebody else what to do.
See, that was one of the differences between TVA's Fusion and add-on portal, was that TVA's, basically their add-on installer, only installed TVA add-ons, whereas the one that Lee made installed everybody's, as long as there was a proper repo.
Right, and his mindset was that everything, it should be a community project. It should be everybody having an opportunity to put in, even if you don't agree with people, and even if you have people putting malicious stuff out there. I remember when there was some of the bad codes that was being spread out, and we were talking with Liam, like, well, we should put a block on that add-on. We should do it. And he says, who am I to police what people should install and not install? He says, that's not my place to police, because then where do I draw the line?
Yeah.
And one of the only thing that he did create was it Security Shield, wasn't it, what he created?
That was a good one.
And that was once we became Nudes and Nerds, because he gave away Total XBMC. It became Noobs and Nerds. He took it out of his name, gave it to another third party, and said basically he didn't want his name tied to it. So he gave it away, gave the forum the rights to the forum, even though he was an admin and all that stuff to it.
Yeah, I think I misspoke the other day when I said he sold it. He didn't sell it. He apparently, he gave it away.
He gave it away and basically said, hey, if you guys, you can have this, and you can have the forum and the website. Let us be admins on it, but I don't want my name tied to it. I don't want to be an owner of it. And that's where that came from.
Yeah, he just wanted to continue developing.
Right. And he didn't want to be tied to it. And because I think he saw some of this legal stuff way before any of us even talked. I mean, way before, because he was like, you know, maybe we shouldn't, or I don't want my name tied to this, or maybe you shouldn't do that. He was talking about that. But he created the security shield. And the only thing it did is it scraped through and it would told you dead repos. It would tell you what dead repos, dead add-ons, add-ons that were flagged for certain reasons, and it would actually give an explanation. Why was it flagged? People flagged it for whatever reason. It would give you a reason, and then it would give you the option: do you want to still have this, or do you want to install it? Again, putting the control to the user to decide what's on their box, what's not in their box. Maybe the flag is false, maybe the flag is real, but again, giving you the information, and then you decide what to put on it and what to do with it.
Yeah, because I know one of the things that got flagged for me was some of the Zunity stuff, but I trusted Zunity, so I loaded it anyway. Well,
and if your repo if I had an add-on that wasn't part of a repo, like I had my wizard would get flagged because I wasn't part of a repo at that time. I didn't know how to make a repo, so my wizard was out there, and it says this add-on is not linked to a repo, and you may want to look into why, or to link it to a repo. So it would give you a reason. So that was his mindset. In everybody that we brought into the group, in Q, in Mid, and other people, it was all about share your ideas. And I'm an idea person. I'm not a coder. I can come up with some ideas, and a lot of my ideas suck. But some of my ideas are all right, and the guys.
You had a lot of good ideas. Nice try.
Yeah, some of the guys say, we might be able to work with that. And but that was like Blue's saying, the difference between TVA said, this is our stuff in Fusion, and this is what you're going to get. You're not going to get nobody else's stuff. It's just ours. Whereas NaN Community Portal, Add-on Portal said, you know what? Here's what's out there. Get what you want. Again, installing it at your own risk. If it's a dodgy thing, okay, you need to do some research. And he tried to be his best way to give information, but not police it. And that was, and we still hold true to that. There's things that we do, and when we do Gen, when we invited people into Gen, we invite anybody into Gen. Why? Because who am I to say you can't be in Gen or not be in Gen? Now, there is people that we have removed because over time we have learned that they're just bad apples, and they're people that are going to just create problems. And so that's like, I know who that is, but I don't, we try not to prejudge and to say, oh, they're going to be trouble, or wait for it to vet you. I'm not vetting people. I mean, if you want to join, you join, and if you show that you can't be in there for whatever reason, then we remove you. And that's about what we're really focused on. And I think that we hold true to that same idea, or that same ideals.
Yeah, everybody that's basically in NaN is a volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
The guys that help with the servers, the guys that help with the forums, the guys that, nobody. NaN is the website and the server that everything runs on is a third party. It's none of us. We just volunteer our time with it, and he lets us.
And I will say that Wolf C. Lee is no longer part of Noobs and Nerds.
Yeah, he's been gone a little bit now.
Yeah, he's left, and he's working on his own projects. So it's, and now the admins that are and the mods that are part of the group have, now we've kind of taken that same idea and the same ideals, and we try to move forward to it. He's moved on. He is not part of it. He has some other projects that we tie into, but he's got nothing to do with Noobs and Nerds. He's like, okay, just let it go and let you guys run it, and I'm done with it.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with copyrighted stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Butch, I got a quick question for you. Because of some of the things you said and all, I did a quick check, and I do see that Security Shield is still part of the Noobs and Nerds repo.
Yeah.
Is it still, I guess you could say, up to date as far as still a working, functioning add-on?
I don't think so. I don't think Wolf C. Lee's worked on that in over a year. Because he worked on that, he created it, and he has his own personal stuff he was working on for his living. He has a living that he does coding and stuff. And Noobs and Nerds, Community Portal, and Shield became side projects.
Took a back seat, yeah.
A major back seat, because we begged for Community Portal to be updated. We begged for, and we were going to get rid of the builds part. That was going to be gone. Because to be honest, most of us have said, you know what, there's enough builds out there now, and everyone's got a wizard, because back then there was no wizards. Yeah. There was no wizards back then. So now we don't care about the builds part of it. People can get builds from wizards. So we weren't about that. But I would seriously doubt Security Shield being updated in probably a year. So I would consider it a dead project.
I really wanted Add-on Portal back.
Yeah, me too.
How many times have I asked Blammo what his repo is? 18 now?
Yeah. And that was the sweet thing about Add-on Portal, is that you could install the one add-on, and then it would give you a list of all these, and it would install the correct repo and the correct add-on, and it was just a great way of doing it that way. And there's so many people that do the super repos and all that stuff. He was like, no, super repo is not the way to go, because you have outdated versions, and you don't have the correct dependencies and stuff. So I don't know that. So I would say that it's dead. I wish that somebody would take it on. I wish somebody would do Add-on Portal again.
Oh,
that's the
definitely.
thing is too, though. It's still, I think, if somebody was to step up to develop it, then that'd be great.
Well,
It's just,
and
I don't know if anybody could understand his code to begin with. I'm not sure.
just a heads up for those that may want to look. Um, Security Shield, of course, it doesn't install, but if you go to do a scan, it comes up and tells you that it's integrated with add-on portal. Because anything it scans and finds, it checks on add-on portal to look for. Because I get the message there are X amount of items on your system that the add-on portal has no record of. Please consider updating the portal with details of these at noobsandnerds.com. On my system, it's 262. Of course, I'm doing
That's the
this on my
problem.
dev
Is add-on
system.
portal hasn't been updated, so it's
Yeah.
behind. I
So
wouldn't even, to be honest, I wouldn't bother with it.
Hey, Tevers.
Yo.
This sounds a little bit like some of the work we've done in the past, and except we limited it to just repos.
Are you?
Are you saying that you two would like to take a look at it and see what you can do with it? Is that what you're saying?
I might glance at it. I've got some stuff going on right now outside of Cody
That'd be great.
that's going to extremely limit anything I do.
Well, you understand it's still going to be more than what we're getting now, so we'd be happy for anything.
Yeah, and it is linked a lot of, like you said, it is linked into the add-on portal, and the add-on portal, when he was doing it, and it would scan and pull it out, pull the list, and he was going to do a whole revamp, his idea, and he actually had started on it. The whole community portal was going to be revamped, and he had started it in bits and pieces, and then like Surface was going to take over the wizard part of it, or the builds part of it, and it just, people get busy, and just like with you, Tantrum, you get on a couple different projects, and next thing you know, what project you liked for it, and starts moving down, and that became one of those things. Even as much as we all wanted it, it wasn't a priority to him, and you know, that's all fair. I mean, he was the writer of it. He can decide what his priorities are.
Yeah.
Well, just to let you know, Tantrum, yeah, I wouldn't. That wouldn't be a bad idea to look at it.
No, I don't think it would. I mean, and I do see here it's even got an automatic scan that you can run every so often. Kind of like antivirus, you know.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I mean, it could be something we could definitely look at sometime.
Well, you guys have your own wizards, right? Because I know that I installed both of y'all's, and so you're talking about this possibility that you could integrate that into some of your wizard. Is that what you're meaning?
Well, no, as far as just looking at the code on it to see what may be needed for update, bring it up to date with the current community.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, no, yeah, it wasn't about our wizard. Honestly, it's about the community. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was just curious. I mean, I know that I've used you guys as wizards, and the two of your wizards are a little bit more. You've added stuff from that's not in, like, say, the Aftermath wizard or in my wizard. You've added stuff.
Yeah, I've got patches in mine and all kinds of crap.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I guess I'm about as up to date as where we are now with things.
Yeah, it's hard to describe to people what NaN is exactly, because we're kind of weird.
Oh yeah, that's an understatement. No, sorry.
Noobs and Nerds is almost kind of like Team Afterbirth. It's just a group of great people that work together, collaborate together.
Yeah.
Not even so much as a team, but just a group of people.
We all have our own stuff too, but we come together on the big things, and
yeah.
I mean, I don't even know how many devs we have anymore. Really, we got a few, but not many. But they're not NaN specific. They're, you know, like Jen isn't NaN. Jen is mid.
Yeah.
And we don't. And the thing is that people come and go, and there was never any restrictions of what you had to do. There wasn't any, well, you need to be part of our group, you need to drop these other groups. There was
no, never.
There was never police. We as a group, or we as a mindset, never tell the people that are in our group what you can and can't do, who you can be friends with, what other groups can you be part of. Never. Now, I will say that all right, so say Surface, who is the guy that had wrote Aftermath Wizard.
Yeah.
He's in our group, and he's got his projects, and he's helped with some. I mean, I'd say there's probably 10 or 15 mods or people that actually kind of do stuff at different times.
Yeah, about that.
And it's good because we all have respect, and even though sometimes we'll sometimes argue, like brothers and sisters will happen to do, and because we care about stuff. And but we never get malicious. We just, and sometimes people need a little time out and walk away.
Yeah.
And take a little time and come back and say, okay, all right, I was a little bit heated, and let's talk about what we were trying to do. Because the thing about
And that's
it
the thing. It's always a big discussion. It's always like, okay, this is where looks like things are going. What do you guys think of it? And if most of us disagree, then we don't go with it. Discussion. It's always like, okay, this is where looks like things are going. What do you guys think of it?
Hey, Sherri, you might want to mute your show.
Okay.
Sorry. I should have let you guys talk in blue. Tantrum and I were talking about bringing somebody special on, and Sherri's in my chat, your chat, and I thought, why don't we invite Sherri on, and she can talk live with you guys as well. So bringing somebody special on, and Sherri's in my chat, your chat.
No,
Sherri, you got to mute your YouTube there. Not us, but the YouTube channel, Teverz Show.
Yeah, we can hear it in the background.
Okay, I got you.
Sherri, you got to mute your.
I got you. I think.
Not us.
She's a newbie to live, so
that's cool.
Big time, maybe. Did I do it?
Works. Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
Cool.
Hi, Sherri.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Sherri.
Hi, guys. Finally, nice to meet you.
Welcome up to the show.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Sherri, I got a quick question for you before we carry on the discussion about NaN. Is your husband Cass?
He is.
Okay, I was kind of curious. Thank you for letting me know, though. Yeah. So.
Yeah, he's trying to join as well. I'm trying to get on the computer as well.
Cool. Sherri, do you have any questions for the NaN team?
Well, I know you're talking about history of Cody, and it started with Xbox. Is that right?
I think you guys can probably answer that.
And the reason I'm asking is because
that's why originally it was called XBMC before it was Cody. And I believe that stands for Xbox Media Center.
Okay, because my kids, I remember right before they left home, they were old enough to leave home. Xbox came out, so I'm not too familiar with any of that. But yeah, I've just become interested in Cody here over the last few months. Really interested in it.
Yeah,
and I'm working on the template too, so.
It originally started, or was made to work with Xbox, the original Xbox, the great big black and green monster.
I had that.
And it was a great thing back then, and everything revolved around even looking like that interface. If you were to install NaviX now, you would get kind of a blast from the past and see an interface as far as that was geared around the original Xbox. The colors and everything just brings that right back out.
The days.
And then it expanded from there.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it just grew from there.
But
and kind of exploded.
And really, XBMC outgrew the Xbox, even though you could use the Xbox. Even now, you could still use it. There's people on our forum that still have the Xbox versions that if you want to install on the old Xbox, you can still run it. Now, there's some stuff you can't run, of course, because of limits to processor and stuff. But I remember we went from that. Then I went to the Apple TV. Then I went to the Raspberry Pi. After the Raspberry Pi, I think I did the NVIDIA Shield. Or no, Amazon. I did Amazon. Then I went to the NVIDIA Shield. So,
yeah, that's what I have as a Shield.
Yeah, I love my Shield.
I wouldn't mind getting a hold of eventually a Pi and setting it up with IoT and try running it on that and see how it runs.
Yeah, nice and cheap.
Well, and the main reason for that's, it's still that Windows style environment, which means I can do all kinds of extra coding.
I'm pretty sure Q loves the Raspberry Pi. Q's been using that forever.
Now, what is
I've
the
debated.
Raspberry Pi?
What was that, Sherry?
I was wondering what a Raspberry Pi. I've never actually. I've heard a lot about them, but I've never done any research on them. I was just wondering what that was.
It's kind of a micro all-in-one computer with add-on cards you can add to it. It is, for all intents and purposes, a computer that fits in the palm of your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's tiny.
And I'm talking about even in a case, it fits in the palm of your hand. So, and the nice thing is with the OS, most of the OSs that run on them are lightning fast. So you really get the most out of them. Most people run a flavor of Linux on it. There's a ton of images out there ready to drop and go for the Raspberry Pi. Microsoft jumped on board with it too, with IoT, which is Internet of Things. So it's really expanded what you can do on them. But I mean, yeah, it's got the graphics processor, everything built on, and you can use USB sticks, SD cards,
Yeah, there it
things
is
like
right there.
that for the storage.
You got to say something, Todd. Sorry, Tantrum. That's it.
He's just showing. He's got one right there.
This is a generation 1, and like he said, you can see it's a little mini computer board. Now this one's a generation 1, so I did not have Wi-Fi. I had to put a dongle on it. Now if you get the Raspberry Pi 2 and 3, I think they have built-in Wi-Fi. It's got more stuff than what this has. You put the OS on, now it's a micro SD card. You could tell that this is old, so it's an SD card. You put the OS on this, and you put it in there. When you boot it up, it writes it in there. So, and it's used OpenELEC, which is operating system, but I know a lot of the people using Raspberry Pis now a lot of them use LibreELEC.
Yeah.
If a lot of the Raspberry Pi guys,
I had on mine.
the LibreELEC is more up to date than OpenELEC. OpenELEC was always slow to catch up with Kodi. It would be like months, whereas LibreELEC is pretty quick to doing it. But you can take this. Q was telling me one day, he says you should make that you can make that a VPN. You could make this like it's a mini computer. I can write anything on this and make it do all kinds of stuff inside your house and control stuff. He said, and it's a hobbyist little toy.
Yep.
Now speaking.
Go ahead, Blue.
Speaking of VPNs, my husband was asking about that the other day. Should he get a VPN, or what's the best thing to use for security?
Well, we've
my
covered that
opinion.
on
I don't know how. Sorry, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but my opinion is I don't use one. Not for watching Kodi, I don't. Now, when I'm doing add-on stuff and I am uploading and doing things that involve my add-on, yeah, I do. But I mean, just for watching stuff, I don't. But I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yep, and if you have if you pay for a premium service like Real to Bread, or to Bride, however you want to pronounce it, and I don't use one because of that. I pay for that service for RD, and so all my streaming, that if I select those links and play from them links and Kodi, it comes from their servers, not from StreamMango or them other sites. So I don't worry about a VPN because of that, because it's coming from that service. But just like Blue said, unless you're doing other stuff or want the anonymity or protection that VPNs can offer, there's really not a high need for them for the average user. If you do want to look into them though, and Teverz, do you have the site bookmark still?
For which one?
The
Privacy.
privacy review site.
I
That
don't.
has all the good
I can put it up in a sec. Do you remember what the name was? And I'll search it quickly.
Yeah, give me uno momento, por favor.
I just need the name.
It was privacy something. I remember privacy was part of the name because it's actually really good.
I've still probably got it open. I just got to find the tab. I got like 5,000 tabs open right now.
Yeah, I think it was more good about using it outside of the home, like in public.
Restore privacy.
Yeah, restoreprivacy.com.
Yeah, I'll put it up for display.
So you're wanting to use a VPN when you're out using, I mean, but how often are you going to be using public Wi-Fi to be doing Kodi or whatever? I mean.
Well, I think they're talking in general.
Oh, in general. Okay. Well, all right. If you're, yeah. And I can see, but I don't use a lot of public Wi-Fi. So I have a big enough cell phone package that I don't have to do a lot of Wi-Fi in, because I can see where, if you're out in the public, you do put yourself at a risk with that. But the only reason I would do a VPN at home would be for torrents, and I always suggest people don't use torrents unless you're behind a VPN, and then I say don't do that unless you're on a private tracker. So, and that's the only reason where I would say get behind a VPN, because you're worried about your ISP send you a letter saying, hey, we saw you downloaded Thor.
Well, he works at a nuclear station, so they have a lot of downtime.
Okay.
So, kind of. That's
he's not wanting his work to see what he's doing.
Was he like Homer Simpson? He's like, at the nuclear factory, not paying attention. That's a place to pay attention. I mean, that's important shit. I mean, I'm just a butcher. I mean, I could actually not pay attention and nothing really happens. Nuclear plant, there's some important shit going on there.
Yeah.
I'm on Kodi. Never mind those red lights. I ain't worried about all that bells and whistles.
Just to let you know,
we don't need to worry about that. This movie's come to a climax. I can't watch that. I can't worry about those stages.
Turn those alarms down.
I just want to warn you guys. Her husband's in the chat.
That's fine.
Oh, so we definitely need to give him grief.
Yeah. Busting balls. Virginia. Well, I'm not that far from Virginia.
Yeah, West Virginia.
Then I'm not worried about it. You're far enough away. I'm okay.
Oh, that's right. Last name Casto. I need to be quiet there. I've worked with a few Castos in the past.
Wait. Isn't Virginia the state that's got the most nuclear plants?
There are some in Virginia, yeah. Like North Anna.
Yep.
No, I mean, isn't it the state that has the most of them?
I don't know what state has the most of them, Caspi. They're kind of spread out, I believe. We got North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia.
New York. There's a facility. I don't know if there's a plant. There's a facility in New York. Well, I probably shouldn't say that because of how I know. But I had a best friend that was a what they call a nuke in the Navy. They did the inspections worldwide for the UN and everything else, and so yeah, I always heard interesting stories.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Well, I was just asking the question because we were making fun of West Virginia a couple of shows ago about job availability. So I figured they were making more plants there for more jobs. So.
Yeah, West Virginia. Population 3,015,000 last names. There's actually a shirt that says something to that effect.
Yeah, here we're in the South now, so every time we spell our last name, we have to make sure we spell it with no R and tell them it has no R in it, because they always want to put R as in Castro.
Castro? That's Castro right there.
I was going to say, do they think you're related to Fidel or something?
Yeah.
Damn foreigners. Damn, we can't get away from foreigners. Damn, sneaking in.
Hey, I'm not crossing the border.
He has black hair and blue eyes, so how they figure that, I have no idea.
Nah, there's no telling. I tell them my last name, and they always spell it wrong, or they just give me this blank look like I'm lying.
Right.
And
Well, yeah, the name Casto, no middle name.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah. It, for me, they just kind of look at me. My last name is Royalty, so I don't know how they misspell it, but they do.
Ooh, I can't give you my last name. I ain't going there. No, trust me. I'll have like all of your major securities, federal government securities coming after me then.
Guys, I just want to tell y'all, thank y'all so much. Y'all have been an awesome group to work with, great community, and it's just been a pleasure.
Well,
That is so cute.
we all do what we can. I mean, sometimes our time's limited, but luckily there's enough of us in our little groups to where we can really, there's always someone that can step up to help. And the nice thing is, the more people we help, there are more people there is to help, because those people generally turn around, and if they see someone's not around, they offer the help themselves, which is another great thing about it.
oh, and we brought you on because you're so wonderful, Sherri.
Thank you, Teverz. You know you're my bestie.
Of course. Just to let you know, guys, I started a demon in Sherri because now she's down to ask me questions every day in Telegram.
Yeah. I'm a question asker.
Hey, you don't know if you don't ask.
That's true.
Yeah.
As long as you don't ask the same question 3 times in a row.
Exactly.
The first time.
No.
I see that Donnie had a question. Why not go full torrent in the Kodi community?
Boo. Oh.
Why? I mean, what would be the
It's
reason?
illegal, and you can get in lots of trouble. That's why.
Well,
Yeah, torrents are usually one of the very first things that ISP flags it looks for.
And it's easy to track. If you're a torrent user, and if you use a torrent and you open up your torrent thing, it'll show you what swarm you're part of. If you're like whatever file you're trying to get, and you click that file, usually on the options is to look at the swarm. And that means that's all the people you're connected to, the people that are connected to you and the people you're connected to, because you're basically all sharing stuff. And it's very easy for your ISP, MPAA, ACE, Motion, whoever, to connect to that same swarm, because they click the same link that you do to open that .torrent file. They open it. They connect to that swarm, and then they can log every single one of those IP addresses that are in that swarm. Now, if you're behind a VPN, you're okay, because whatever IP shows up there is not going to be your IP. But if you're not using a VPN and you're part of that swarm, they can log every single one of them, and it is so easy. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. I mean, everybody's right there, and they can just peg off because you're part of this public swarm. So you can use it. Ace Streams and Pulsar and Plexus. You can use it in some add-ons inside of. Some add-ons use it, as well as Sports Devil, Castaway used to use it. But when you're not behind a VPN and you're watching a movie, yes, you get better quality and it can be better experience for everyone, less lag, but you are part of that swarm that can be easily tracked. So
the risk is worse.
If you're a novice at it, you're very likely to get caught. If you're a person like one of us, we know what we need to do. We're going to run behind a VPN. We're going to do some things to hide who we are. If somebody's in there that's with the MPA is going to go and say, oh, I can see that guy, oh, I don't know who they are, then we'll move to the next one. They're going to peg all the people that they can spot. And that's why it's not as smart to use it. It is actually a great way of sharing media. It truly is. Because everybody has a little piece, spreads the bandwidth, spreads the load. It's not all on one server. But being used with a person that don't know what they're doing can cause you to have a letter sent to your house saying, hey, we saw that you were watching this movie, and they'll give you the date, blah, 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 blah. So, echo stop. So,
that's precious. I'm sorry.
so yeah.
And just to point another thing out too, if you're looking at VPN, definitely go to the site that T put up, because you can still have issues if you choose a VPN that has a lot of IP leak issues, and that site points those out. It tells you which ones have IP leak issues, which is where they can inadvertently expose your IP to services out there. So that's another thing to keep in mind. That's why week after week we share that site, because it is the #1 resource out there for anybody in the community wanting to look into VPNs.
And if you're looking at that site too, try to find something that isn't Kodi related, because a lot of these new ones that came up when Kodi started getting popular could possibly be a little more biased. You want to go with something that's outside of Kodi, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about that site, is that guy is abundantly impartial. When he does he reviews the VPN services himself. He answers questions on there, the guy that runs it, and he gives very in-depth answers if they are necessary. And it's just an overall great source for VPNs in general, be it for Kodi or for security concerns, like your husband mentioned, Sherri. So I mean, it's a great place to go and look. I think one of the top ones I've seen on there, that based on everything I've read on the site, that I would recommend you look into as far as reading up on, is ExpressVPN.
Okay.
I haven't done a lot of research on this stuff because I don't have a need for it. So
yeah, I did it just because I'm getting ready to do another VPN video, and it's going to center around that site and the content on that site, to get that site out there for more people so that they see it, and can use that restoreprivacy.com to get their information from, rather than Kodi websites, because let's face it, they're all going to be biased. They're all going to have their own referral links like that.
That's exactly what it is. Referral links everywhere for them.
Yeah.
Don't use those.
Don't get me wrong. ExpressVPN has a referral program, as well. But if you look over everything that's on that site, it doesn't say that it's for specific services or recommends using it for specific services. They hit on everything. So, I mean, like, to quote it on part of it, ExpressVPN is also one of the best VPN providers you will find for streaming. They do hit on it, but it says also, that's not their main thing. They mention that, or the author, I'm sorry, of the website mentions that because it's one that they would recommend for it. And if you go to it, they actually have a Kodi VPN add-on, or a page for that. And they even mention other services, not just Kodi, Netflix, some others. It goes on to mention their support and the logging. He gives a full in-depth review. Gives you the pros, the cons, the whole 9 yards, which is what I like about it. And ExpressVPN, I don't know if this is on the site or not. They are one of the only VPN companies out there that have fought releasing any type of data to the point that a government agency had to come in there and physically cut cables and yank servers off the racks because they wouldn't give it to them. That's how much they stand behind their end users. And that's only happened, I think, once. And I don't know what the end result, I mean, I know what the end result was. They didn't get any data because the only thing that they do is log anonymized stats. IP addresses, your IP address is not logged with them. They assign it an anonymous ID that is used to track for their services rather than the actual legitimate ID.
Okay. Bro's got a question in there. If we want, do we want to touch on net neutrality? I'm going to give you blue. If you're not aware, Bell is trying to get that here done in Canada. Gone. It's up against the CRTC.
And I wonder if it does go bye-bye, if what happened in Canada, what's happening in the States right now, which is where individual states, just like with cannabis and THC, are creating their own laws that do not agree with the federal level. There states here in the U.S. now that are more or less activating their own net neutrality laws that are pro net neutrality. And I believe it's Colorado is even in the process of building their own infrastructure for the internet in order to help enforce full-blown net neutrality in their state.
We'll continue this in a sec. I'm looking at Todd, watching him. You know that normally that guy's a full-blown gabber like me, and he's watching TV and eating at the same time. Todd, I love you, man.
That's all right. I've been taking my phone upstairs and getting coffee.
Multitasker. I can.
He's listening. Don't worry, he'll butt in when he gets a chance.
I give people a chance to talk.
Yeah, that's very nice of you.
And see that's why a lot of times we'll turn to him and say, "Hey, what's your take on this?" Just so we can get a break, get some coffee, whatever.
Go to the store, come back.
Have time to make supper.
Exactly.
So, Sherri, any more questions?
Yeah, well, the net neutrality issue. What is the biggest difference that we're going to see? Or, you know what? I'm not brushed up on that subject, actually.
They're basically going to tell you what you can and can't do on the internet.
Yep.
What sites you can visit, what things, anything.
And now, from my understanding, is they can also throttle certain sites in certain places.
Oh yeah, IPs can offer you less for more money.
And they can, and then supposedly, what some of the talk is that,
ISPs.
Let's say the ISP gets money from Netflix. Let's say Netflix says, you know what, can we get a good sweet deal with Spectrum? And Spectrum says, sure, you can get a sweet deal with us. And like, all right, we'll pay a little extra money to get a good sweet deal. We'd rather it. And then Hulu says, well, we're not willing to pay for this special sweet deal. So maybe, and again, it's not definite, but maybe Hulu gets throttled. So people that are using Hulu get throttled back, whereas Netflix doesn't. Or you know, that could possibly happen.
But aren't they basically where we can go right now as far as like Google's limited with using their security stuff, right? I mean,
there is some where they're blocking. Google is supposedly blocking some, but I don't think that's widespread.
The problem is it's going to be up to the ISPs to basically do whatever they want, and they're big corporations.
Yeah.
And
they're going to pick and choose who gets better deals and what you can and can't watch or can and can't surf on the net.
And why are they thinking this is better for everyone?
It's profitable.
Yeah.
More money for them, exactly.
Exactly. It's profit is what it boils down to. And Sherri, with where you're at, who's your never mind, scratch it. Let me tell you this. In West Virginia, if you've noticed, one of the major, there's two major players in the broadband game here. One of them is Suddenlink, which is owned by Charter Communications. And if I remember correctly, they are. Anyway, they now have bundled to hit on what they were talking about, Netflix with services. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if, just like they mentioned, the other streaming services out there, Hulu and YouTube Red and all, start getting limited as far as the bandwidth, or they're getting a lower priority compared to Netflix. And I say that because I know that they're offering that now as part of their service, the Netflix. So there's a big possibility that's coming, or is already even came to parts of West Virginia.
Exactly. They're gonna look out for whoever they're favoring, whoever's paying them the most money.
Hey, it's a company, and companies are not looking out for what's best for the people, the users. They're looking out what's best for their stockholders and what's better for their bottom line. And if you can if you can bring in more money because Netflix is willing to pay you $3 million to move up the list on priority for bandwidth, when you turn that in on the bottom line, that looks pretty good. And then how many other companies are willing to jump in and kick in some and kick it? And it's a brand new revenue stream. It just takes the power out of just things being more neutral, and it gives it power to a corporation. And I'm sorry, I'm not a person that believes that corporations are all looking out for the end user. They're looking out for their stockholders, because if they don't look out for their stockholders, most CEOs don't have a damn job.
Well, it's not.
Yep. And here's here's the thing on that too. And just to put it to make it a little bit easier to understand, they won't necessarily per se throttle. What they'll end up doing is, and I've seen it with other things, they'll give it a prioritization. For example, your VoIP. If you've got phone service with your ISP, it runs on VoIP, and those packets are prioritized, meaning those packets will take absolute priority over everything your internet's doing. All right. So, some people, when that was first implemented, before the speed started going up across the U.S., phone call, and they noticed they'd start having issues with their internet speed. And that's because they had poor internet to begin with. And those phone packets, where that data's coming through for the phone, takes full priority over everything. And that's what they're going to be looking at doing with these other services that pay extra with net neutrality on it.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, good analogy, because that's exactly what will happen.
Yep, and you see it in add-ons.
So we don't want it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you see it in add-ons. There's certain add-ons out there that let you set priority to different scrapers. All right, and it's the same thing there.
Was Todd in PJs?
It's controlled by the government at all, right? Or is it?
Sorry,
Not like long distance companies.
I missed your question, Sherri. Sorry.
That I know with long distance companies, they're controlled, or used to back before cell phones and stuff. We just had regular long distance carriers, and they were controlled by the FCC. But I mean, the internet is not controlled by the government, is it? I know
that's just it.
Yeah.
Net neutrality, with it engaged, no. But now that they've done away with it, it's put that control in the hands of the corporations, and more so the FCC. The FCC can come down and say, well, you know what? We don't like this website. We don't like the content it offers. Boom, it's not accessible to the United States anymore.
Yep.
That's some more of, I guess you could say, the dangers of doing away with it, is because it gives entities the ability to decide, kind of like some other countries have. I believe, is it North Korea?
China.
In China, that highly limits what sites are accessible to the people in that country.
Extremely.
And without net neutrality, that's another thing that you're looking at.
Oh.
Yeah.
Have you ever read Snowden?
We all know. I think everybody knows who Snowden is. Yeah.
I just watched maybe a couple of nights ago. That's all. It was pretty cool. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, there's real dangers behind it as far as just, um, and not even I'm not even talking about the legal side. I'm just talking about as far as the filtration and all, um, where the government will start deciding, what services you can and can't use, just because someone's against that service, and it boils back to a like half hour or more long conversation we had the other week. Marijuana. It was initially made illegal just because it cut into somebody's profits on newspaper because they were using the hemp for creating paper. It was a rapid growing resource that could be used to create papers at an extreme rate. It did away with the need to cut down the trees. And the people that own tens of thousands of acres that were doing that with the trees, that cut into their profits. And they started a propaganda war against marijuana.
Saying that black men who smoke marijuana rape white women. That's how it started. How bad is that?
Yep.
Wow.
And, it's the same thing.
It just went from there.
Yeah, I mean, and you see it in all walks of life, everywhere, that type of thing. And, it's been away, it hasn't been part of the internet in the U.S. Because of net neutrality. And with it gone now, stuff like that can start to take place. I mean, there could be someone out there, Netflix, for example, that decides to start a war against certain streaming services that are based outside the U.S. that are being used in the U.S. because they're great services. And, these could be legitimate pay-for services like Netflix and Hulu. But because they're based out of the U.S. and more people started going to them because they're cheaper, they'll turn around and start doing everything they can to get those blocked in the U.S. And without net neutrality, they can do it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all about money, once again, like always.
Yep, it all boils down to the mighty dollar.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Money talks.
Don't worry, it's all going to trickle down to the little guy. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, according to Trump.
America great again.
All right. Any other questions, or Sherri?
Do what?
I said, any other questions, my dear?
Well, let me think of just a second.
The answer is 42.
Yeah,
it always is.
And to the left.
That's right.
Unless you're on the right day, and then it'll go to the right. Yeah. Other than that, we haven't got much questions in the room. I guess we can open up because I did tell a couple of people to hold off on the questions. So, so in the chat, guys, go ahead, put your questions in.
Why haven't we had questions? Well, you told everybody not to ask questions.
Well, I'm a question, just depending on what comes to mind at the time, but then I forget about them. So.
Yeah.
I think that's all of this.
No, Sherri's husband will ask questions in there, but we were ignoring him because she's better looking, so.
Yeah, he's sitting right here typing as though I guess he's talking.
Or just turn around and say, "Hey, hon, can you ask them?"
Yeah, exactly. We've had a lot of fun with this. We're out of town right now. He's working out of town, so this has been my saving grace, basically. I do this all day long because I'm in a place where I don't know anyone. And anyway, it's just y'all have been my family for the last few months, so thank you.
My missus would go nuts if she didn't work.
I would go nuts if my wife didn't work.
Hey, Sherri.
Well, because you're at home.
Yeah.
So did you guys say that you guys are in North Carolina?
Yeah, right now we're in North Carolina. We're at Oak Island.
Oh, you're at the damn beach. Shit. Oh, you got it bad. Oak Island. That's beautiful. That's a little chilly. Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's where I like to go during the summer. Oh, my Oak Island. Oh,
Yep.
We're
beautiful
looking
place.
to be here during the summertime.
Yes.
It's like he's a contractor, so he doesn't actually work directly for the nuclear station, so we travel around. But it's a weird little place here. Everything closes at like 8 o'clock.
Yeah, you're at the
Yeah,
beach.
see,
Yeah, you're at the beach,
that,
and it's off season too.
Yeah,
and see, that's the job I need.
That's
right
why
there. I'm just
not as
saying.
many tourists, so they don't stay open as long.
No, if you went there during the season, there would not be as much. But Oak Island itself, though, it's a small island, and it's not a tourist focus like Myrtle Beach or someplace like that. It's more residential. It's focused to residential. It's got a lot of houses and stuff like that there. So, but the great thing about that, when you go to that beach or that island, is that the beaches are not crowded, and you can enjoy yourself. And it is harder to find places to eat and stuff like that because they just don't have all the restaurants everywhere. But it's quieter, it's more peaceful. And you did need to worry about, if you go back and do a search about a few years ago, we had the shark attacks that were all off that. That was some of the islands. That was one of the islands that we had shark attacks.
yeah, that's weird. That's what we were actually looking at earlier. Cass's just ordered a drone, and he was showing me some of the footage where you could see sharks in the water with.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. It happened. I actually had one of the guys that worked for me. I don't remember if you guys. It was about 3 years ago. The guy that worked for me, his son was the boy that had his arm bit off.
Oh wow!
Completely bit off. He was, believe it was at Oak Island, and it was Oak Island or Emerald, and he was out there in the beach at the water, right at waist level. He was like getting the sand off himself, and he was like squatted down, just getting all the sand off because they had been building sandcastles, and a shark come along and grabbed his arm and like took it off right here, and yeah, it happened. It was just to know somebody that did it, and he was on Good Morning America. He was on all of the talk shows, and then ended up going on Shark Week the next year. They took him on Shark Week to down to the Caribbean, and he was able to go in cages, like a shark cage, to try to do it. But he took it with a grain of salt. He took it with he was really really good. I mean, he wasn't one of those people that like, oh, my arm got bit off. I mean, he's like, yeah, well, it happens. Because I asked him, it was so funny. I asked him, and he came to the store, and I was like talking to him, I'm like, nice to see you, and talking to him, I was like, I don't mean to ask a weird question. I said, but are you left-handed or right-handed? And he looks at me and says, well, I'm right now. And I cracked up, because he was, previously he was left-handed, but he was right-handed now. So, yeah, it was just, but yeah, it's a beautiful beach. We've got some really nice beaches, especially in the summertime. So nice. So, I'm glad you enjoy it.
Well, so are you close by?
I am in the middle of the state. Like, if you're on I-40, going towards West Virginia, if you go past Durham,
Where'd you
go past Durham and Chapel Hill, I'm close to Burlington before you get to Greensboro. So I'm about the middle of the state. I think I'm about 3.5 hours from you, maybe 4 right now.
Well, we're originally from up by Clemson in South Carolina.
Oh, okay. Oh, down there. Oh, Clemson.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Talking ACC stuff now, like, oh my Lord.
Hey, y'all. I was at the 82. I was sitting in Miami at the 82 when they won the national championship. So that's, if that tells you any history on how long I've been a fan.
Oh, and I just want to throw this out there. Oak Island not to be confused with the one in Nova Scotia.
When I said we were going to Oak Island, I'm like, oh wow, we're there doing. Trying to find out that's going to be really fun. I love that.
Yeah. I was gonna say there's a show called The Curse of Oak Island, and it's on an island that's in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed that wasn't the one we were going to.
I could agree with that disappointment. I definitely could. That would be quite a trip.
Ask him if he's familiar with the bridge going across Oak Island or a big dump truck.
Yeah, Cass was asking, I don't know how much in the news that it got, but there was a big dump truck right around Christmas time that went off the bridge coming from the island over going to the beach, and it was pretty bad scene.
Oh wow!
It actually, I think it severed the power lines if I'm not mistaken, if that was the one, no, that was some contractors broke that line, but they had like there was a trunk like ones along that bridge, and I want to say that got cut, and they didn't have power for a while.
Yeah, this I don't believe this is the one that did the power line, but it was pretty sad. The guy didn't go. He went off the bridge, but did not land in the water. Unfortunately, landed in the mud, which buried the truck. But sad deal, very sad deal. That was just right up the street.
Woo! Any silence. What happened?
Oh. That's very unusual on this show with the people we have on it.
I know. See,
Okay,
now,
I have a question.
Yeah.
What the add-on DeLorean, that used to be one of my favorite ones, but you can't find that anywhere. Is that gone?
I'm pretty sure that about the time when the cease and desist rampage was going on, I think he dropped out shortly after that.
Yeah, he was still around at first, but it wasn't long before DeLorean stopped being developed.
And talking about super repos, I was asking a question, I think, to begin with before I came on about the No Limits build. When I first started with Cody, that was like the one to get because it had everything available. And now, to look back at it, it still has everything available. So
yeah, it's because they didn't. Super repos are just bad, and the reason I say that is because they won't have the most recent version of an add-on,
right?
Which is why we always say go to the actual developer's repo to get it, and they will leave stuff in there that hasn't been actively developed or even working for times up to a year or longer. I've seen add-ons in the past in different repos that were quote-unquote super repos that hadn't even functioned in close to a year, but they still had them in there. They didn't keep anything cleaned up. They don't actively work on them themselves. They just put them in there for people to have a one-stop shop, and it ends up hurting the people looking for something because they're not getting the absolute latest. And if something is no longer developed, you don't know that. You just know it stops working. And it could be that the developer isn't working on it anymore, or it just could be that repo has not updated to the latest version.
Well, I think it was a great thing that y'all put out a list on all the repos. As a matter of fact, I think I sent y'all like 3 or 4 that I had just stored as a bookmark. It looked like they were updated, but there again, I don't use any of that, again, thanks to you. So that's been a tremendous tool.
Well, and that's the purpose of it. It is, people don't know. And it gives them a place to look to make their mind up, hey, is this something that I want to install? Or, if I install this, what's the risks, things like that. And that's the main purpose of it.
Right, it's not like you're telling people what to use and what not to use. You're leaving it up to them, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and just like with the whole Madhouse debacle that happened when theirs was put on the list, if people wanted to use it, they still could. We don't say don't use this. We just say, hey, here's why we flagged this for that.
Right.
If they still want to use it, we don't have the addresses on there or anything like that. Developers asked us not to put them on there, so we didn't. That way, if you still want to try one, you can go out there, find the current repo, and try it for yourself. We try to see to it that everybody has that information, so that they're just simply aware.
Now, when replays are updated, like with new URLs, do we need to go in and actually put that URL into our source?
Only if you need to download the latest zip file.
Okay.
Otherwise, your sources are separate from the repos. The sources is where you can point something to download something manually, for example. That's all the sources for. So if you want to, then by all means do it. That way you're up to date with their most recent download location for their repos. That way, if you ever need to uninstall and reinstall it because of a bad update,
right,
which does happen, that way you do have that latest source and you can download their latest repo. For example, Illuminati had one that went out that broke the repo setup, so you had to remove it and reinstall it from with the latest zip.
Yeah.
That happened going from what 0.12 of Blamos. So it does happen. And if you want to keep your sources updated, by all means do so. It's not a requirement, though.
Well, see, that kind of leads to my next question. Is there somewhere to go to look and see what all repos have been changed, the URLs have been changed?
The best thing is if you know the group that's running it, you follow them on Twitter or something like that.
Yeah.
Is to check with them.
Right.
That's the best source. Not all of them put them on Twitter, which is fine. That's what messages and things like that are for. There's other sites out there that store the information, such as Cody Apps, which they may or may not have the most recent. I don't know, how proactive they are at looking for changed sources, but there are ways to get them. You can even do a search for YouTube on that add-on that's part of that repo,
right?
And look for a video. You can change the filter to YouTube to like within the last month for a video, and try to find the latest video that's reviewed it, and you can get them that way. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to get the addresses if you really want to try to find the more recent one if you notice one's not working.
Okay.
Well, let me say this. I've said installing repos is something that needs to be done with some care.
Yeah.
Because you installing a repo, you've kind of given someone the key to your house. Your device, I'm counting, is your house.
Right.
You've given someone the right to come in into your device. So installing, when I see, and I'll be guilty of it back in the day when I used to think that I wanted all these repos, tons and tons of repos. I wanted to make it easy for everyone. And every add-on, I thought everyone needed every add-on. But I've learned that to pick and choose the ones that are current, that are up to date, that are active, and then I ditch the rest. If I find they become active again and I see that they're back to doing it, I add that back in. Having lots and lots of repos does slow your device, because your device actually goes and starts checking for updates. So the more stuff you install, the more repos, the more add-ons, the more it's looking every time you boot up or you check for updates. So sometimes having everything is not as good. And I was a builder for a long time, and I made a lot of mistakes back then. I thought everyone had to have every add-on, and my build got so big. But when I did my latest one, when I did DAX, and I wiped it, nothing. Again, I put nothing. I said, you know what, I'm gonna start with one repo. And then I went through, and my build was so fast, I could put it on a Fire Stick and run it without a problem. So just be careful when you're looking for those kind of things. Don't think you got to have every repo, you got to have every new add-on. Most add-ons is redundant.
Yeah, they're all exactly the same most of the time.
Because most scraper add-ons are hitting the same sites. Granted, death streams may hit a few different than placenta, which may hit a few different from the NaN scrapers. There may be some differences, but the bulk of the sites that they're going to hit are going to be the same sites.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good to know.
So some people think, well, I want to have this add-on, this add-on, this add-on, this add-on, this add-on. Really, you don't. For my build, when I put it out there, what I did for people is I said, okay, I installed placenta because I liked its scraper list. And of course I installed Bob in my add-on, which uses the NaN scrapers. And then I installed the repo for Blamo. So if people wanted to get death streams, it gives you another template or another set of scrapers. But if you had something like that with those three, and then maybe Pyramid, because Pyramid is actually direct links, you would have 3 or 4 different add-ons, and any of those 4 could get anything you want to find, because if one didn't want, another one would. But sometimes having tons and tons of add-ons and repos is not a good thing, and you
I
tend
agree
to
with that
slow
100%
your life.
because majority of what they're pulling are the exact same lists from like IMDb and TMDb, all
Yeah.
the featured and whatever. So unless you have an add-on out there that has stuff that nobody else has, which means they're probably direct links, then yeah, have that and maybe a live one. But the majority of the scraper ones, like Todd was saying, all the same content.
Yep.
Yep.
So
It's just
So
the
it
way
is nice to
it's
have, yeah, it
presented.
is nice. Like you guys have 3 add-ons that have 3 different sets of scrapers. So that's brilliant because if this one is having problems with the scrapers, this one isn't.
Yeah, exactly. And Death Streams has a very, very unique list that most scrapers out there don't have, which is why I love it as an option. It hits, it does hit, a lot of the same ones as Placenta, but it hits even more so ones that aren't in any other scraper, which is why I love Blamo's work on it.
See, that's what I do. And I was wondering if the Real to Brid Death Streams was pulling from the same place as the regular one.
It pulls some from the same, and it's geared for the sites that have primarily Real to Brid compatible links.
Exactly. That's why it's fast.
So, yeah, any of them that normally never have them aren't in it, and that's why it's so much faster.
Yeah, I try to pull all the ones too that have documentaries. That's the first place I go. I get rid of the kids because they're hopping around, and usually get rid of the sports. But love the documentary stuff.
Yep. And the nice thing is, and a lot of people don't realize this, you can find a lot of that in the other add-ons too, where, for example, Placenta has a section under movies and shows called genres, and documentaries is a section under there. So you can pull documentaries from there as well. You can add it as that section as a favorite to get straight to it. There's a network section that has it broke down based on the network it's from, things like that. And a lot of people, they just go in there straight to like popular, or they set up tracked, and they don't go into the other stuff. They don't realize that a lot of add-ons have sections like that, which is why I recommend, anytime you install an add-on, go through every single menu. That way you can see things like that, and you can add them to your favorites and be able to get straight to them if they're 2 or 3 levels deep.
That's kind of where I'm at right now with Cody. When I started, it was all about the look, and which add-ons were there and that sort of thing. And I love the more simplicity type build. But now I'm just trying to do my own thing and stick my own things in there that I like. That way I don't have umpteen add-ons that I don't need, or repos that I don't need.
Yeah, that's just it. It's finding what you like, what works for you. That's why we have 3 different add-ons, or add-on styles in the Blamo repo that are completely different. Completely, they have different looks, different feels, and all of them appeal to different people.
Right.
So it gives them, these multiple options for different people and their preferences in the same repo that are actively updated.
Now I did find one build called Optimus Green. I think I mentioned this to Teverz once before, but that was a really cool build. He's got some really cool tools in there too.
OG.
Something different.
Celtic lover.
OG.
Yeah.
He's actually he does a little bit of work in NaN.
Okay. Yeah. Answer stuff. I told him that I liked it. First of all, when I first found it, it's like one of the messages I saw was, "I'm not updating this anymore." So I sent him a message, and he's like, "Well, I'll update it." But he said, "I'd like to know what works and what doesn't work." I just don't get a lot of feedback back. So, I've tried to give him some feedback. But yeah, that's a pretty cool build. He's got some really cool things in there.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I mean, and a lot of people don't ever think about it. Builders don't get, or the majority of them anyway, from my experience, they don't get much feedback at all. Either from the dev point or the end user. So they have to try to keep up on it themselves, and once they get so many, it's hard for them to. I know I've got 4 builds myself, and you know, without that feedback, it's hard for them to know what's working or what's not working, because a lot of people that do builds, they try to do a theme and use add-ons
Yeah.
around the theme for that build. So it's not necessarily they're not necessarily using everything that's in that build. Just like me, I mean, let's face it, about the only thing I ever use because of my day-to-day schedule is Placenta and Sports Hub, because I don't watch live sports. If I'm watching them, it's on replay. I'm not on social media hardly ever, so I'm not getting spoilers on games and all there. So I watch the replays, you know, from the archive, and then the replays from using Placenta. So you know, that's really all I use of mine. But you know, if you look at any of my builds, regardless of how they're themed, they have a lot of different add-ons for you to choose from.
Right. Now,
That was, well, I was gonna say there was we were talking about back if you go back like 3 years ago when builds were first starting to crank up, and then all the YouTubers were all over the big builds, and I remember if your build got put on a big YouTuber, and I mean I got back early days of Solo Man, and he did a video, and like all the big guys did videos on my stuff, and the downloads would just be out of the roof, and you would get feedback. But now there's so many builds and so many wizards, and to be honest, a lot of tubers, I only see a handful of guys that really focus on a lot of things. Machinga, she tends to stick towards a handful of builds. I'd have to say Stephen Cornelius and Super Del, they do a lot of build videos. I know Teverz does some, but there's a lot of guys that in the YouTube that moved away from it. So the builder doesn't get a lot of feedback. And a lot of these guys are trying to do some really cool stuff. And I know Cellar Door, I always talk about him. He is always for eye candy, which I used to be all about the eye candy. I wanted the coolest looking and something different. And Cellar Door does that. He is all the time about something different. But I've gotten to a point, like I said, in my life that, you know what, I do builds for me and a handful of people that follow my stuff, and for my family, because most of my family has my build on their device, and I don't have the time to go to every single one of my family's house and to update their build every time something's out or something needs to be done. So I create a build so that I'll use it, and then all of my family members will get an alert. And when I did this last one, I think I installed 5 or 6 video add-ons is all it had. No music add-ons, or maybe one. I gave the repos. I installed my wizard. I installed metallic. And that was all that it had on the whole build. And then I gave repos. I put the repos in there. And what I did is I did videos, and I said, you know what? Here's a bare bones build. It's going to, if you don't change nothing, you can watch whatever you want. But if you're a person that wants to change the backgrounds, you want to change the widgets, you want to add more add-ons, I'm going to give you the repos that you need, and all you have to do is go and install from a repo, click the repo that you care about and that I felt they're trusted, click it, install the video add-on, and you're good to go. And that was where, for me, that's where I've went, because I want people to be self-sufficient. I want you to be able to install what you want and how you want, and not, I feel like too much that we spoon feed everybody. And I've seen where that hurts us, because I've seen people that I've been helping for over 2 years that I've helped through my Facebook group. I'm still helping the same damn people. There's certain people I'm still helping, and I have to spoon feed them, and it's been 2 years. Now, in 2 years, if you can't install your own add-ons and create a link in the skin as a submenu or something like that, and it's been 2 years, you know, you're asking for us to have to do everything for you. And so I don't feel bad for those people, because I'm like, you know what, you're just lazy.
Well, see, a lot of videos I've seen, take for instance, you've got the real debrid. You've got some people that'll change priority to 90, some that'll change it to 10, but they don't tell you why. You know, how do I know what works best for me when I don't even know what the priority needs to be set on?
Sherri, well, you know what you need to do? You need to make your own.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
It's really, really easy. pick a good skin, a good reliable skin.
Yep.
Like I'm partial to Knox myself because it's nice and
Right.
plain.
It's got
Not
lots
too
of
fancy. You can make
lots
some
of
cool
options.
backgrounds, and add a couple add-ons and a couple of shortcuts, and Bob's your uncle.
Bob's my uncle.
And
Honestly, I mean, and then you're not relying on somebody else to update it and fix it for you. You can
Right.
do it yourself easily.
yeah, and the thing about
And then
the
you
RD
trust what's on it.
priority,
Yeah.
I leave mine at 100. I never change it.
Okay.
And I've never noticed any negative
I'm the same.
impact from it.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah, and there's just like you're pointing out there that says, hey, this will help your streaming, less buffering, etc. I've done videos like that, and I'll tell you, and people that comment and say it didn't work, I'll tell them, well, I'm giving you the settings that I'm going in and looking at. This is what works for me. May not work for you based on your device, internet, and all that, but it shows you the settings to tweak. So anytime you watch a video, no matter who does it, that says, okay, here are these settings, go in and take what they're saying, and each setting that they show, play with it at first. Pause the video, play with that individual setting till you notice what they say it's going to impact, till you notice a difference there. All right, that way it's tweaked for your device, and that's the best recommendation to give on it. All the videos out there have great content on helping with buffering, but the only things that are across the board is nothing. I mean, literally, because every device is different, whether it's a PC, a box, a stick, doesn't matter.
And if you want less buffering, probably the number one thing that you can fix that makes it better, hardwire it.
Yep.
That's one
Don't
thing
use
I don't have
Wi-Fi.
a problem with anymore is buffering. I think I pretty much got that.
Yeah. And if your router's nowhere near your box, do like Todd did and put the power line in.
Yeah. Where it's got the Ethernet over power line.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like directly to the box, right?
What happens is basically you're plugging into an outlet close to your router and plugging into your router, and then it runs along your power line. So then you plug another one into a separate outlet closer to your box, and then plug the Ethernet in from there.
Yep.
It's as good as you're going to get, not full on hardwiring it.
Well, maybe that's why mine works better, because actually that's how I have mine done now.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
But like he said though, I mean, it's device specific. It's you have a good internet provider that's actually giving you the bandwidth you should be getting. Sometimes people are paying for something they're not actually getting.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I was gonna go ahead, Tantrum.
A lot of it is, and it's finding options too for what you do, like they mentioned about the power line adapters. There's a lot of people out there that's got the lower end devices, and see what options there are out there as far as instead of going out and spending money on another device to replace that one. For example, they now have the Ethernet adapters even for Fire Sticks. So you can look at something like that to see if it's compatible with your Fire Stick. If it is, then you can use that in conjunction to help with hardwiring them to help improve the speed too. There's a lot more options out there than there used to be. Yeah. And it's just taking the time to go through the settings on the device that everybody's pointing out to find which what setting on each individual one works best for your device and your internet. And then if you do need to look at the hardware route, again, just do your research, see what's out there for it, and try to make an informed decision on it.
I was going to show what these are, and I had them at my house, and I used them because my son was an online PS4 player, and he also had the Amazon Fire in there, and he was complaining that he was getting lag, and then we were running the cable from the living room all the way through the house to his room because he had to have hard wire. So that's just not conducive in a house where you're going to trip over that wire. I swear.
Hardwood floors, yeah.
It does it all the time. So you buy like things like this, all right, and these are power line adapters. And what it does is it plugs into the outlet on your wall. So it plugs into the outlet by your modem. And then in the bottom, you can see where this one offers, actually it offers two. But you would plug in, like if I had this plugged up over here, I would go in from an Ethernet wire from my modem, plug it into the wall. Then at another room, I put another one of these, or even if I wanted to put it at my TV, because say my TV's having issues, I plug it into the wall, and then I come out and plug it right into my device. Now I have found this gives me, you can get all kinds of speeds on this. Do not go with those ones that cost you $100. Spend no more than $50, and I think this was $45, and I want to say it was 1,000 MIP. I think it was 1,000. So, and this is going to give you that, not fast as Ethernet, but it's going to give you faster than Wi-Fi. And it also cuts down on noise. Sometimes people have noise, Wi-Fi noise in their house that causes Wi-Fi signal to degrade as you go through the house. Microwaves, certain satellite equipment actually does it. Different things can create interference.
Concrete walls.
So it creates problems getting from here to point A to point B to get your Wi-Fi. So these can be an option. Now, where this option is not as good, if you have an old house that has old wiring, these don't work as well on some old wiring, because what it uses is it uses the power lines, the electrical wiring in your home, and it sends the signal through that electric wiring, that power line. That's why they call it power line. So if you're in an old house with bad wiring all through it, these probably won't be as good as they are in for here. I mean, I couldn't believe the difference that at my house as well as here when I plug these in. Runs really, really good. And I think, like I said, I bought this on sale, and I think I paid $40. I wasn't willing to pay any more than that. And I don't have Wi-Fi issues here, but when I do set up the TV in my bedroom, I do want to have this because I do think I'll have some issue with it getting over there. So it's a great, great option. It's not expensive if you're having Wi-Fi issues and you don't want to run Ethernet wires. So,
and a tip on your Wi-Fi setup: using your phone or a computer, scan for in your area. You want to use a channel for your Wi-Fi that is not being used by anybody else in your area at your router, because if you said, for example, if you have a lot of people using 3, 5, 1, 7, you want to choose 6 or 11. You don't want to be on the same channel, because that will cause interference as well for Wi-Fi devices where they're running on the same channel. If you look at your router setup, so you want to make sure that, if you have devices that have to be on Wi-Fi because you don't have the money for the adapters right now or things like that, just make sure you're on a unique channel for anybody around you.
Now, how can you change the channel? I know we stayed at a campground once that had, that came with Wi-Fi, and we didn't have anything else connected. And I read about channels, but I never knew how to change them.
Well, that's set up at your router or by, whoever's hosting that Wi-Fi connection. They're the ones that set the channel. Okay. So, this isn't something you control like at the hotels and all that. Okay. But in your home, where it's going to be most important for you, that's what I'm referring to. So, if you look at your router setup, you log into your router, you go to your wireless.
Best way would be to Google that, would it not? Because it depends on what router you actually have.
Yeah, it does.
They're all different.
If you have a CD that came with your router to set it up, use it. Because that'll walk you through it. A lot of them now only come with a documentation CD, but that's fine too, because go on there, open that documentation, and go to the section that talks about setting up your wireless. You're right there, where you go to set the channels. They don't always give you the most information about it, like, for example, what I'm talking about. But that will show you how to do it. And if you don't have a CD that came with your router, go to the manufacturer's website. They're going to have it on there.
Yep.
Okay.
I guess that's her, Blue's other love with us there. I just let you know. So to make my wife happy, I'll let you know. Okay, so where my internet comes into the house, I always forget the name of that little box. That's where my modem is, because once you go copper after that, that diminishes. So I put my modem there, and then I got an 85-foot network cable running up to my router. And then I have about 150 foot from the router down to my wife's office for the switch down there, because if she doesn't have fast speed, I get in trouble. So I actually...
Happy life.
I had to hardwire everything, but I love Todd's idea, and I've never tried one of those, but, you know, doing the power over the, you know, probably would have been a much easier idea than hardwiring a 150-foot cable.
It depends on what you're going for. I mean, but yeah, just to, you know, tell you how solid that advice is, your cable companies and satellite companies, before they implemented anything Wi-Fi, that's the method they used. They use those power line adapters. DirecTV and all them, that's what they always used for a long time.
Yeah, I remember years ago they talked about actually cable internet being used, that the cable internet was going to go through the electric company. At one point, they were working on that because they were trying to get high speed to rural areas, and there was talk of that. And I guess it fell to the wayside. But I had read about that years ago, and I'm like, what a great idea if they could put high speed into every single person would have high speed, because wherever anybody had electricity, they'd be able to have it. So that kind of fell to the wayside. But yeah, I've used these. And again, if you go on Amazon or wherever, you'll find some of them are really expensive. I'm cheap, and I don't mind saying that. And I use a website that was there's a website called slickdeals.net. And it's just a website that people post good deals. I put in one of the search engines, or I had an alert. I put an alert in there for power line or power line adapters as an alert. And as soon as somebody posted that they had it on sale, and I think it was B&H Video or B&H Photo, you guys probably seen them sell stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And they had like I said, I think these are 1,000 MIP, and it was $40. And this one actually came with the Wi-Fi thing. So if I wanted to hook this up into my room where it would amplify a Wi-Fi signal in the other room, which I like I said, I haven't hooked it up, and I really don't care about the Wi-Fi part of it. But you can find it without spending a lot of money. I don't be an impulse buyer. Run into Walmart, because Walmart does sell these, but they'll sell a lower end and it'll be a higher price.
Yep. Buy
it online, pay attention, look at what the prices are, and don't spend that somewhere in a $40 range, and you'll be a lot better off. And it's well worth it.
Yeah, and just make note too that when you first do this, you're going to need to pick up two.
Well, it comes with two.
Okay, the one
it comes like this. It comes like this. Because they come as a set, and now you can buy some sets that are 4, but this is how it came, and I opened it up because I wanted to test it. I tested it on my devices. I tested it on my T95. I tested it on the NVIDIA Shield, and I was amazed that I hit the same. I've got 100 meg line here, and I got 100 off of it. But the Shield has got better equipment, so always going to get the best speeds.
Yeah. So the main thing to make note of is just make sure, you know, when you first go to do this, is to buy one that comes with at least 2. Because you're going to need one at your router and then one at whatever device you hook up first to it. I guess that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So you don't want to buy an individual one.
No, like I said, they always come 2.
Okay.
It's always 2, and some you can buy 4. The only plus is some of them will have 2 plugs that come out the bottom, like this one. I can actually use 2 Ethernet wires coming out, so I could actually plug it up to 2 devices. It has to be plugged in directly to the wall, not through a not through a power strip. It needs to be directly in the wall. The other option that a lot of them have is called pass-through, which means that it has an outlet on the outside, so that I can I don't lose the outlet. So it has an outlet plug, so I can plug it in the wall, and then I have a plug where if I want to plug my lamp in. That's your big option, is how many ports come out of it, and if you have pass through, and if you don't care about pass through, you'll save a little bit of money. Pass through will cost you a little bit more. So those are your big options. Again, I always say stay kind of small, don't spend as much. And if you find that, hey, I would like a little bit better, then you have experience and you can say, hey, I don't mind spending a little bit more to get this. And I gave the website. I gave that website, that slickdeals.net. And it's just a site that has all kinds of stuff. And I check it every single day, if not 2 or 3 times a day.
And I just want to point out that the People's Barking Dogs has got my little runt down here. And he's all up in my lap trying to figure out where it's coming from.
Yeah, that would be mine. He's kind of sorry.
Oh, it don't bother me. My dog weighs 6 pounds, so it's not like it's an inconvenience.
Yeah, this is not much bigger. He just thinks he's bigger.
No, that's mine. We a lot of times we'll let when we let him outside, we don't have fenced in yard, but we have a big yard, so we'll just stand at the door, go out with him, let him run, do his thing, come back in. But there's times we have up to 15 deer in our backyard.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
And he's a 6-pound dog that thinks he can take on a 12-point buck. And he'll run out there. They just, at first they'll look at him like he's stupid when he starts coming at them, and then they just walk away. But
we have a one. He's 15. We've had him since he was a week old. His mom couldn't feed him, so anyway, he looks like a black Pomeranian and is about that size. But we were staying at a friend's house that had horses, and he thought he could go make friends with the horses.
Mine's a Pom Chi. So it looks like a Pomeranian, but he's smaller than a Chihuahua.
Well, see, his mom was a long-haired Chihuahua, and his dad was just like a Benji-looking dog, I believe. But he came out looking like a black Pomeranian, but he's a trip.
That's mine. He can be. There's times he's smart, and there's other times he's just so dumb and ain't funny.
Right. Hey, speaking of pass-through, isn't there a setting on Cody for pass-through? Are they connected? Whatever your...
That's for the sound.
Okay.
Yeah, I am correct, right? Yeah. Right,
yeah, if I remember right, talking about an audio setting.
Yeah, if you wanted to hook up, if you have a surround system, and you want the surround system to take over the 5.1 or the whatever, you would turn the pass through, and that would tell Cody just to send the signal directly to the surround sound.
Okay, I know I don't mess with it much. I just, the words, check out.
Well, I can tell you how wonderful it works on my LG surround system. But, and it's only because I'm on an Android TV, and the Android TV settings inside of there for Cody, like, because Cody depends a lot on whatever OS you're on. So on a normal Android device, the Cody has got it set up so that the certain drivers go out into the Android system and then go out. But because I'm on an Android TV, which is a higher version of Android, it doesn't have the same drivers. So it wouldn't matter what surround system I have, I'll never get the pass-through to work. I had a long talk with LG and Sony, and yeah, we went and found out, yeah. So I spent like I don't know, it was like $600 on that surround system on sale. Thinking my wife is like, oh, we're gonna have 5.1 in the living room, no wires, because it's all Bluetooth. Get it all set up, and I'm like, it's not working.
That's how it usually goes, isn't it?
So now the speakers that go up in the corner you mount, they're there, but they're not turned on.
Tantrum, I've tried to teach Cash your motto about happy wife, happy life.
It's a definite true saying. Happy life, wife, happy life. Definitely. Because if she's not happy, your life is going to be a living hell.
Well, you can trade them in.
True. I mean, I've always said when they hit 40, trade them in on 220s, but you still have to be careful which ones you get.
No, thank you on the 220s. I have a 23-year-old daughter. There is no way I'm going back that direction. Yeah.
The sad part is I had a buddy I worked with. That was it wasn't his philosophy, but it was very, very close because he was about my age, but his fiance was 23.
Oh my God.
He just liked younger girls. Is the only way to put it. Younger women. If they were around 20 to 23,
you can't talk to them about anything because most of them have zero life experience.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's definitely
music,
when you're looking for
love and TV shows.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
You're looking for the trophy wife type deal when you look at that.
Yeah.
Well, that's Sherri, isn't it? No.
All right.
So Sherri, if you haven't had Cass trained yet, you know what your problem is, eh?
What is that?
You're not using a big enough stick.
Well, we've been together, what, 32 years? Oh, I think we've been together 32 years for the last 3 years. Anyway, we were married in 86, but yeah, we've just kind of we still have our ups and downs times. So I guess I need to get a bigger stick.
Yeah.
Everybody does. If you don't, you're not learning.
Oh, we've had fun. We've been through a lot. Spicy.
If you need any advice on what size stick to use, ask Blue. Message her; she'll give you some. She's an expert.
No, I've never had a husband, so I have no idea.
Yeah, but there's a reason why I call you mistress. What, was that the dog growling at me? Jealous?
Yeah,
it wasn't me. It wasn't me growling.
He sees people. Sees people.
All right. We haven't had any questions for a while. I'm thinking if it's all right, we could call the show to an end.
Guys, thank y'all for having me on today. It's been loads of fun. Very interesting.
I'm glad we brought you on.
Well, I have enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Hey, can I give a shameful plug?
Sure.
Never mind. Go ahead.
All right.
Not that type of plug.
Yeah. At 4:30, I'm gonna have a live show at 4:30 to unveil the next generation of Noobs and Nerds Gen World Domination Takeover, where we have decided that, again, that we're going to take over the world. So this is the next step on a new feature add-on that I think a lot of people that are in the Gen community are going to get real excited about. It's something that you haven't seen anywhere else. Nobody else has done this. This was in Mid's brain when he created Gen, and we've been working through the bugs of Gen, trying to get enough support and people excited about it to see if we're going to take it to this level. And now today is going to be the day we're going to take it to the level. And it is still a little bit of work. There is some work that's going to be done in it. It's not perfect, but there is some super potential that people are going to have if you're running a Gen. Some new doors have just been blown open for you. So I'm real excited. It's going to be at 4:30 today. That's my time, which is 2.5 hours from now. So wherever you are, that's 2.5 hours from now. Check out my channel. Blue will be there, Mid will be there, and some of the other people that are part of that team, and it's called the Borg. So,
guys, I just want people to know that I am a normal person doing my own thing, and that y'all have been awesome. I've not had, I don't believe, had to kiss anybody's ass to be a part of your community. And so I'm really thankful for that. Thank you.
Well, no, Sherri, believe it or not, you are part of the community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like, and that's how y'all make me feel. And I just want everybody else to know that as well, that y'all are awesome.
And Todd, just so you know, I threw an idea and just some initial stuff to A-Train late last night, early this morning, for a feature update for Jen. Teverz will like it. It's basically to implement the news and updates that I use in all my add-ons to Jen.
Wow. I mean, that's one of the things when we created this, he wants as many people to help create the plugins and the ideas, and to reach out there and say, you know what, if you want to jump in here, create your own add-on and just leave it the way it is, that's fine. Or whereas Tantrum has more skills than some of us that don't know how to do that kind of stuff. People like that could come into it and say, hey, I have an idea for this, and create like a plug-in for these. So that's a great idea. I'll have to take a look and see what we can come up with. I actually have been even reaching out because I'm in a lot of groups, as Blue will tell you. I'm in a lot of groups with people. I mean, people that she won't even speak to. There's people I'll be friends with because kind of like Teverz tries to be very
middle of the road. Yeah.
And there's even people that from the old regime of add-on builders. I'm trying to pull them into what we're doing, even though they kind of they look at Jen as a little bit of a laugh because they can develop and they can write code, and they're like, "Oh, you're giving this add-on to people who can't even code nothing." True, we are, and that's why it was created, is make it for anybody. But the thing is that you can do that, but then also the hope is that some people that do have some knowledge comes in too, and then come up with new ideas and new features and say, hey, we can take this to this far, we can take it to this. So yeah, so it's a great time. I just hope that everybody's able to come and check out the new add-on, check out the Borg, and understand what it's about. And I'm hoping that all the Jenners will look at it and a light bulb will go off and be like, oh, we are in on this one, and then they take it and run. That's
hilarious. You should sell cars for a living.
I sell myself. That's all I'm trying to say. You know that I've been trying to sell myself to you for a while now. I keep getting shot down. Okay.
Well, and just so you know, the whole reason that type of plugin came to me, which, like I said, I've given A-Train the base code to use for it. Mm-hmm. So she's going to do it either. I think her idea was using an Airtable. I think she said. I have zero experience with Jen, so she's going to look at implementing it when she gets a chance. We just recently released a new add-on as a collab with A-Train and me. Me being the project manager, that way, it went back quicker, and it called Chocolate Salty Balls.
I saw that.
Using the Jen template. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is an add-on I'm involved in that doesn't have a news and updates. I got to do something about
that. Yeah, you're slacking up. Oh, by the way, Todd, just for you, I'm just a gigolo, and everywhere I go.
David Lee Roth.
I'm playing. I make for everything. Selling each romance. Ooh, what do they say? There will come a day.
Oh God! I mentioned
Sing
earlier,
about me.
I mentioned the word earlier. The other side of the door. Now the dog's flipping out.
Well, no. See, Blue started that. She said he's going to make a good Carlson Rosem, and the first thing went through my head was, "What are you talking about? He's a gigolo."
I'm Deuce Bigelow, male gigolo.
There you go. Let's go.
Okay, I'm going to put a shameless plug out there before we go to. Okay, tune back into my channel in about an hour, and my grandson and I will have the next movie review on Goodbye Christopher Robin.
Yay!
Ooh.
Just a little bit of pre to that video that's going to come out. I cried a lot during that movie, just to let you know.
Hey, if you want a movie that's going to hit you, Extraordinary Measures, just saying.
I'm not going there. Never mind.
If you're not familiar with the guys, it's got Brendan Fraser and Harrison Ford in it.
You know,
I know what you're talking about. That's the guy that has a sick kid.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's an old one.
Gives up a 6-figure salary job to find a cure for the disease his kid has.
Yeah. Okay.
Except I have a really hard time looking at Brandon Fraser now. He used to be so good looking. Now he just looks really weird.
Yeah, he looks like, Charlie, he's going through a Charlie Sheen moment or something.
Exactly.
He's
had
winning.
Plastic surgery, but it didn't go well.
Yeah.
And he got fat, kind of. I just watched The Mummy again the other day. Jesus, he was cute in that.
All right, guys. Oh, so go ahead, Sherri.
Oh no, I just said I'm not sure who that is. Brendan Fraser.
He was.
Oh, you've seen him.
Yeah, he was.
He was in the Mummy movies.
The Mummy 1, 2, and 3. Inkheart.
Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff. He's been around a long time.
Yeah, he's done a lot of great stuff.
Like I said, I just found out about Snowden like a couple of days ago, so I'm behind times.
Well, the Mummy's still kind of old, so you got chances there.
Anyway,
guys,
I was gonna say, Sherri, go ahead, say your goodbyes. Let everybody know. Let everybody out there know how much you love being here.
Of course, y'all are awesome, and Teverz, you know you're my bestie. So thanks, guys, and I will hit you up if I have any questions.
Sounds like a plan.
Thanks, guys. Hey, how do I get off this?
Bye, Sherri.
Bye, guys. Nice to meet you, Blue.
You too, hon.
All right, Blue, you want to say your goodbyes?
Nah.
She said she don't want to say goodbye because that just sounds so permanent.
Yeah.
What about you,
See you
Todd?
later.
Oh, yeah. I don't
See y'all soon.
Yeah. I never say goodbye either, Blue. It's always see you later. All right.
Exactly.
Tantrum?
See y'all soon. I got a nice 89 Pinto you might want to buy.
See y'all.
Now I'm thinking an AMC with the death trap. I got it. Yep. Tantrum, buddy, it's all in your hands.
All of my hands. That's a scary thought. I'm just saying. Let's see here. Just so everybody knows, you're probably going to see a drop off for me for a little bit. I got some things going on. It's taking me away from Cody projects. So there's going to be an update to Placenta today. After that, I'll probably coordinate with Blammo and Teverz, but I'm not going to be around much. I know some people make comments they haven't seen me in chat and everything for about the past 3 or 4 days. So I'll still be on the show, still be trying to make it here every week. But as far as outside of that, if you need to get a hold of me, you can try direct messages. That'll be about the fastest way, but it still may take some time for me to respond. So that being said, appreciate everybody that tuned in today. And I will see you in some form between now and next Sunday.
All right, guys. So you guys have noticed there that Cass kind of donated to the channel. And as you guys know, I'm going to give that all back to you. But he secretly messaged me, and that was $20 because we kept his wife busy from him for a while. He's paying us to keep her busy.
That was the wrong business.
Oh, yeah. Guys, thank you very much for watching. You know, all of us here, we all love you. All of us appreciate you. Don't forget, 4:30 Eastern Standard Time, because Mr. DeButcher forgot to tell you the time zone. But Eastern Standard Time, he's got, and I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully I can make it there, but that's an amazing show. Don't miss that. Trust me, you guys are going to enjoy that. And that is on his channel. Just got to look for DeButcher. There you go. Other than that, guys, peace out. We all love you. Have fun now.
Later, all.